Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to I'm about to do my other show. I was about to say a moment in deja vu. That means y'all only get 60 seconds, but that's not this. Welcome to Coffee and Conversation with me, Kathy Jackson. That's what happens when you're a media mogul in your own mind. So welcome everybody. I want you to say hi to me. Let me know you're out there. Give me a shout out. Let me know where you're checking in from. Um, Let me know if you got your coffee or whatever you're drinking. So before we get started, I'm gonna give you my pickleball report today. So I played pickleball on Monday and Tuesday. I take a class on Monday and then I put the skills in practice on Tuesday. Yeah, guys, my serve sucks. Let me just be honest with you. I did well. I won a couple of games, lost a couple of games, and actually, if I could get when I get that serve down, I'm gonna be dangerous, right? But anyway, I'm having so much fun, and I feel like I'm getting in shape. So, if anybody interested in pickleball, let me know. That's my new thing. I'm loving it. But now, okay, I see I got somebody on, so hopefully you'll say hi to me. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get started with today's topic of conversation. Guys, we're going to be doing it for the vine. You guys remember that statement? Remember when everybody was like, do it for the vine, do it for the vine, right? That was way back in the day when so the doing it for the Vine was an app that was put together for you can do like 6-second videos. That was way before TikTok and Facebook Live and all of that. People were doing it for the Vine, and so people would do stupid videos and they would let their friends talk them into doing it. Like if you look it up in the Urban Dictionary, it gives examples. I encourage you to look up doing it for the Vine in the Urban Dictionary. It's actually quite hilarious how people talk their friends into doing stupid stuff just for the video. And I looked that up because I never like to come to you guys with information and that I haven't looked up and verified. So turns out that the Vine video app was purchased by Twitter for $20 million in 2012. So that's why the Vine went away. Because Twitter, you know how they started adding video to Twitter? That's how they did it. They bought the Vine, right? But there's another reason why we're going to talk about the Vine today. And this one, I'm going to come from a standpoint of knowing your purpose in life. A lot of people are going around trying to find their purpose. We all want to know, what's our purpose? Why are we here? Well, what I have learned and discovered is that we are here to serve God. Now, don't get scared. It's whomever your God is. If you believe in a higher power or the man upstairs or an intelligent being, I personally believe in Jesus Christ. And whoever it is, whoever your deity is, that higher power, we are here for their purpose, to serve them. And the way we do that is by serving each other. There is a scripture in the Bible, John 15, when Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. And so what that's saying to me is that our purpose is to serve God. And since we can't see, hear, touch, him in the physical, in this realm, then the way that we serve him is to serve mankind, serve your brother, serve your sister. I personally don't believe that we have only one purpose in life. I think that you might have a purpose of raising your kid in one season and then a purpose of taking care of your parents in the next. So we have different purposes depending on where we are. But the one way that I believe that we can all make sure that we are serving our purpose, living out the purpose that we are meant to do, is by sharing our story. Let me tell you what I mean. So first of all, I'll bring you up to speed with how I came to this. I was having dinner with some friends from childhood. I mean, these like we've been knowing each other since we were like 2. Um, and these ladies are doing so well in life. Like I was getting caught up to speed, hadn't talked to them in a while, what's going on with them. They have fabulous careers. I mean, making great money. They have great families, married, some not, some kids, all of them had kids. And they're doing really, really well in life. And I know how amazing they are because I know from where they came. They came from very, very, very rough childhood. I'm not talking about just poor. Like a lot of us, I'll tell you, I grew up poor, but I had great parents. So I never suffered. I didn't know what it was like to go to bed hungry. I didn't know what it was like not to have a winter coat. I'm talking that kind of, sometimes they are laying in beds that weren't theirs. And I'm not going to tell their whole story because it's not mine to tell. But I know their story because I grew up with them and I know what they went through. And to see where they are now, I think it's just absolutely amazing. But what I found out in our conversations is that their adult children, they don't know how they grew up. Like they have made a conscious choice not to share the story of how rough they had it as children. And now their kids are adults, college grads, working great jobs, some of them married, grandkids. I mean, I'm saying these are productive people. And so I asked them why wouldn't they share that information with their kids? And they basically were like, they did not want their children to feel like that legacy, like that was their legacy, to live the kind of life that they lived, where they didn't know sometimes where they were going to lay their head. They did not want their kids to do that. They just wanted their kids to know that they loved them and that they were taking care of them. And they are great parents, right? And so, I was talking to them like, me personally, my opinion, we always give our opinion, that I thought that it would be that their kids should know their story. I get why they didn't do it when their kids were young. Okay. We differ on that, but I get it. But now that their kids are adults, I'm like, don't you want your kids to know who you really are? And I told them, you guys are amazing, amazing. And I think that your kids need to know how amazing you are, that you didn't land here with a silver spoon, that heck, sometimes you didn't have a spoon, and to be at the level that you are. So sometimes I hear people say, well, I had a rough childhood. Honey, I know people with rough childhoods and they are doing well. So, it's not necessarily an excuse. Yes, that is a situation, but it doesn't mean that's the end of your life, which is the other reason why I feel like they should tell their story. I'm not saying they should get on Facebook Live like I'm doing and tell your story to everybody. That's not necessarily your purpose, but your children or people who you connect with now on a regular basis, and I think that they should do it for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you have been through something traumatic and you've come out on the other side, I think it's important that you, number one, affirm that what you dealt with was real. Maybe you had an eating disorder or an addiction. Maybe you grew up in poverty, or maybe it just all kinds of trauma out here. Maybe you were abused. There's so many things that have happened to you. And when you get on the other side and you've made it, I think it's important to acknowledge that to yourself And sometimes you need to say it out loud. That's the whole premise behind the Addiction 12-step program, where people get up and say, hi, I'm an alcoholic, and they tell their story. It's for the other people who are listening, but it's also for them to remind you of who you are, where you came from, and that where you are, you can really count your blessings, right? The other reason I think that it's important for you to tell your story is it helps you find your voice. You know, it's kind of therapeutic when you can put into words, when you can actually say what you survived, you know, like you survived something that no kid should have ever had to deal with, but you're still here, you know, and by sharing your story, it can also put you on a path to more self-love, you know, affirming your own worth by using your voice and reminding yourself that you are worthy to be heard, that you got a story. Guys, I know I'm not the only one. Everybody has a story, right? Hi, Nashika. Everybody has a story. Type in there if you got a story. Like when people start telling their stories, you can be like, honey, you ain't did nothing. Let me tell you about my childhood, or let me tell you about what I went through. You know, maybe it was in the adulthood. Maybe you survived a fire. You know what I mean? It's so much trauma out here. Everybody has a story. If you got a story, just type in the chat for me so I know you there. Know that, you know, you my people, that we got a story, right? Hey, Kimber Nation, I got a story. She raised her hand. She got a story. Everybody has a story, guys. And I think that, and these are my opinions, I think that when we don't share our story, we're not honoring the vine. You know, I don't believe that God made us go through those particular traumas without a purpose in mind. You know, there's something that you had to learn, something that you learned from it, something that you took away from that, some things you learned to do, some things you learned not to do, some things you learned to get over, some things you learned you had to heal from. You know, you had to do all of that. And I don't think that it's for no reason. I think that when you share your story with others, someone hearing your story can be tremendously encouraged. They are probably, someone is wrestling with some comparable issues. Like, no, first of all, there's nothing new under the sun. As much as it seems like you are the only one going through that, I promise you, you're not. And that is the reason why people have to share their stories, because there's somebody out there who's thinking that they're unique in their darkness and the stuff that they're suffering through. I mean, they're suffering and they're not speaking up. And sometimes just hearing someone else's story is proof to them that they're not alone, that they're not crazy, you know, and that there is a way out, you know. It gives others hope when they see, if you could, my friends, if you saw them now and you knew, that's why I'm so amazed at who they are, because I know how rough they had it, you know, and it forms bonds. When you tell your story, there's someone who will reach out to you and be like, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, you know, and sometimes that leads to a friendship, because you can bond over that. And now, you know, you're not alone. And when those residual effects of what you went through start to come up, you've got a like-minded person, somebody who's gone through it, that you can talk to, who really gets it, right? Who really gets it. So that vine, we're all branches on the vine, and God is that constant throughout. And I believe that he's connected us on that vine so that we can help each other out, you know. But if we keep our stories to ourselves, then maybe that branch dies off the vine because they didn't know how to cope. They didn't know any strategies to survive. They didn't have the skill set that you had. But when you share your story, you share how you survived, how you got over, what tool sets and coping mechanisms that have been helpful to you. And so when you share that, then that's helpful to other people. Now, I often come on and I talk about, how, okay, let me try. Absolutely. I have a story. Kimber Nation, that's my honey. Sometimes sharing our story hurts other people or expose them. So usually you digress. And I hear that. Listen, and it's kind of difficult to find that balance. And that's what you have to. So you taking me to the end of my conversation. Hey, Natalie, listen, I agree with you exactly. If you're not ready to tell your story, and certainly there are times when you're not, then you're not ready. You want to still work through that thing, get into some counseling, do some meditation, pray, get yourself to a place where you can get, and maybe get into some counseling where you can talk to somebody who can give you some tools for coping. Sometimes you're not ready to tell that story. I've not always been ready to tell my story. I'm gonna tell it now and then I'm gonna come back there. I got you. So I grew up poor, but here's the cool thing. I had such great parents. I didn't know I was poor. I had everything I needed, and at the end of the day, what do kids need most? They need your love and attention, right? Anybody agree? Love and attention. We as adults want to shower our kids with all these gifts and all these material things, especially if you didn't have it as a kid and now you do as an adult. You want to shower your kids with that. All they want is your attention. At one point when my son was very young and I wasn't working, I must have been laid off. I can't remember. But, in the summertime or it was nice outside. We'd go to the park. And so I could fill our days with outside fun activities, right? But I live in Chicago. So in the wintertime when it's cold, there's no going to get on the swings in the park. And I didn't have the finances at that time. And I remember just packing my son in the car and driving to Toys R Us. Not that I was getting ready to buy anything from Toys R Us because that wasn't in the budget. But we would spend a couple of hours going up and down the aisles, letting him ride in the cars and play with the toys, all in the aisle of Toys R Us. He thought Toys R Us was his bedroom. That was his playroom. And I let him tire himself out on them people's toys. And then we go back home. He was a happy camper. Guys, it's not always great. And the reason I share that is because people tend to think, like, when they see you where you are, they think you've always been there. Oh, so I own a business now and we're growing. We're about to franchise. We're doing great things. But I didn't start here. The struggle was real, and additionally, if you listen to like multimillionaires, I pulled a couple up on my phone to talk about it, who started off, if they tell their story. So the first one, I'm going to go, everybody can recognize and know Oprah's story. She the richest Black woman in the world. But she was born to a single mother in Mississippi, and she talked about not having running water or electricity growing up. And then you've got Howard Schultz, who's the former chairman and CEO of Starbucks. I thought that'd be appropriate since we having coffee and conversation, right? But he said he grew up living in government subsidized housing, and he was ashamed. And his dad died a broken man because he could never get a job or a career that amounted to much of anything, And then let's see. Who else? We got Ralph Lauren, who Ralph Lauren, y'all probably buying some of his clothing items now, but he grew up wearing hand-me-downs and he didn't like that at all. So that actually pushed him and motivated him to get to where he is. I mean, there's a lot of them. So you guys, if you want to look them up, Ken Langone, the creator of Home Depot, he said that he lived a charmed life, but not because of material possessions, but because his mom was a cafeteria worker. But he grew up poor, but he had love. His parents loved him, and they believed in him, and so that made up for all of the lack that he suffered as a kid. But these are billionaires, and you know what they're doing, guys? They are telling their story. Hey, Russ, I'm good. These people are telling their story. And why is it important for them to tell their story? Because people believe that they just got dropped off in billionaire land. And that's not the way it happens. Why is it important for you to tell your story? Is because there's somebody who is looking up to you thinking, boy, they wish they had what you had. Boy, they wish they could do what you do. And you are probably downplaying your own genius, thinking it's nothing, because that's what we do when we're really good at something. It comes so naturally. You're like, what? Anybody can do this. But it's not true. You are doing it, and only you can tell your story. And so it's important that we have stories like Ken Langone and Ralph Ellison and Ralph Lauren and Oprah Winfrey, but it's also important that we have your story, because now they seem to be kind of far away, whereas we're a little closer to you. That's why I tell my story, because we still here together. You know what I'm saying? And so you want to let people know that the importance of it is that if I can do it, so can you. If you know somebody else went through it and got through it, then you create hope for the next generation, for your own kids. I mean, it doesn't have to be a major stage or platform to tell your story. You can just mentor the girl next door, one of your coworkers, somebody else who might just need to know and hear your story. So for Kimber Nation, you were saying like you don't know the balance of when to say it and when not to say it. I get that. Honestly, sometimes before, when I'm talking to somebody and I feel like I have a story that could help them, I whisper a little prayer. Lord, give me the words. Give me the words. And here's the thing. You give the words and then you step back. Don't try and make them take it. If they listen to you, that's all you can ask. Because a lot of times people hear you, but they have to process it. And they may not tell you how helpful you are at that moment, but believe me, you are. But all you can do is your part. How another person takes and receives it, that's not on you. What is on you is to share your story if it can be helpful. All right? So again, if you're not ready, if the story is that you want to share, if it's too painful still for you, maybe you need a little time. You're not ready to talk about your story. I get it, and that's okay. But when you're ready, you should do it. Do it for everybody's sake, because somebody needs to hear it. Do it for yourself, do it for us, and do it for the vine. So thank you guys for tuning in to Coffee and Conversation. If you thought that was good, give me a thumbs up. If it made sense, guys, I've been working on this and it's been on my heart. And I just really, really, really wanted to share with you, like, your story is important. It's important for somebody. We all have a story. See, Natalie says we all have a story that someone needs to hear. That's exactly it. See, that's what that author do for you. She know how to put it in words. We all have a story that someone needs to hear. So that's it for me today. If you like it, remember, like and share. If somebody, somebody that could use this information, share. You see my cup? You can change the world. You might not be able to change the whole world, but you can change the world for somebody in your sphere. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.